Hello everyone and welcome back to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations. In the last episode we finished up our investigation, day 2. Now we're back in court. I'm curious to see if this will be the last day because I think it can technically go on for one more day. So we shall see. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Good morning, Maggie. So, what do you think is going to happen today, sir? Yesterday's session didn't go so well and ended on a giant mystery. It's true. And we still haven't solved a single part of it yet. Are you okay, Nick? Huh? Oh, yeah, of course. I saw that little flash of doubt in your eyes. No, that wasn't doubt. That was, determination. Why don't I believe you? It's nearly time, Maggie. You'd better get going to the defendant's seat. Roger, don't let me down, Mr. Wright. I'm counting on you. We got this. Hey, pal. Hey, Detective Gumshoe. Quit stressing Maggie out. She doesn't need that. How did you know she was stressed? I was watching through the doorway. Oh. You look like you lost the case already. Show a bit of confidence, will you, pal? Here, maybe this'll help. Huh? Have you taken up aromatherapy too? Not in a million years, pal. Don't tell me that you don't remember this thing. Come to think of it, that doesn't look like one of those aromatherapy bottles. This is a small bottle that turned up in Tribulations' kitchen a couple of days ago. Look at all these little bottles. They're aromatherapy oils. He's got so many they're overflowing onto the floor. Wait a minute. There's one bottle that's different from all the others. What do you know? And it doesn't have a label either. And it doesn't smell. We finally got the analysis results back from the lab. So, what is it? Is it the poison? I'm afraid not, pal. It's medication. Oh, okay. Medication? Yeah, for ears. There we go. Yep. Topical use only, apparently. For ears? You mean... Yeah, it's the medication Glenn Elg was using for his ruptured eardrum. What was Glenn Elg's ear medication doing in the kitchen? I didn't say they found any traces of that, like, in his system. Victim's ear medication found covered in unidentified fingerprints in the kitchen. What about the unidentified fingerprints? Anything on that? Someone screwed up so they only had time to analyze the contents of the bottle. Another hour and they might have gotten something on the prints, but... it's going to weaken its impact as a piece of evidence. Okay, pal, this is it. Make sure your defense is impregnable today, got it? Today's trial. I'm gonna expose that guy for what he's done. My name isn't Phoenix Wright. 10 a.m. Time for court. Our good old friend is back. Court is now in session for the trial of Maggie Bird. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Ready and waiting as always, Your Honor. Very good, then we'll get underway at once. Yesterday we heard the testimony of Mr. Victor Kudo. He claims to have witnessed the defendant putting a powder into the victim's coffee. However, the witness testimony was plagued with a number of problems. A mark on the rim of the cup shows that the victim drank from it with his right hand, but according to the old man's testimony, he picked it up with his left hand. Thank you, Mr. Gatto. Furthermore, according to the witness's account, the victim was listening to the radio with an earpiece in his left ear. Yet the victim's left eardrum was ruptured, which made him effectively deaf in that ear. It's amazing how many contradictions a single case can have, huh, Nick? Ha! Allow me to enlighten you, Your Honor. The world, you see, keeps turning, and we must turn with it. You've lost me already, Mr. Godot. Don't let the mysteries of yesterday mystify you today. Only losers think like that. You've got to change with the times. That's one of my rules.
Are you implying that you've resolved these contradictions? You know the answer to these riddles? The old guy wasn't just throwing seed in here, he was throwing us off the scent. And today I'll prove it. Very well, let the first witness take the stand.
Oh, you're going to lie.
And you are...
Oh, bonjour, everyone. I am Jean Armstrong, the owner and head chef of La Tribulations restaurant. Enchanté. He's like, what?
Forgive me for asking witness, but are you a woman?
Oh la la, monster. As you can see, I am a lip and perky gentleman, no?
On the day of the incident, you were in Tribulations' kitchen. Isn't that right?
Was you, monster? Everything feels right.
Ha!
Wow, he's totally unfazed. Doesn't anything intimidate this guy?
Very well, your testimony, please, witness. Please tell the court what happened the day at Tribulations.
Oui, volontiers. When it all happened, there was just 2 customers in my restaurant. I remember I was experimenting with some new art deco that day. Like having a large mirror between the tables, for example. Oui, perhaps that is what the old man was looking at. The cup, the earpiece, and the glasses, he would have seen everything in reverse, no? Mirror? Oui, un grand mirror. The most enormous mirror.
And suddenly the mystery disappears. Like I said, the world keeps turning, so roll with it. That would explain the coffee cup and the earpiece conundrum. The mirror would have made everything appear back to front.
What the heck? It's way too early in the morning for this to be happening to me.
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Okay. What we got here? And who were the 2 customers exactly? Of course, the young man who died, and the other not-so-young man.
You are referring to yesterday's witness, I presume?
What about the other man Maggie says she saw at the table? Something tells me Mr. Armstrong isn't planning to disclose his existence. We need some hard evidence before we can bring him up, don't we? I guess I'll just have to try a different approach for the time being. Alright, I can't imagine this is going to be important. You're experimenting with Art Deco. How come I never heard about that before today? You are not familiar with the language of interior design, monsieur? Please stay on topic. Now, why didn't you tell the court about this before? But I did just a few moments ago.
Excuse me, Mr. Armstrong. This deco you mentioned, are you referring to some sort of...
What? No, Art Deco. It is a style of design, Your Honor. He's talking about interior design, walls, ceilings, carpets, that kind of thing.
Ah, yes, of course, that deco.
I was trying to achieve a more effeminate look for my restaurant. I was planning the most bold remodeling of the decor. Alright, why would you do that? How big of a mirror are we talking about here? Something about 4 meters wide and about 2 meters high. Let's see, if 1 meter is about 1 yard, holy glass in a frame, that's huge. I was intending to install it onto the ceiling eventually. Ceiling? Was there a mirror on the ceiling? I don't remember. No, I decided not to go through with it in the end. What should I do? Should I ask him more about the mirror or not? Yeah, we have to. If you really had such a large mirror in the restaurant, someone would have noticed it. But there's nothing about a mirror in Mr. Kudo or Maggie Bird's testimonies. But
Objection!
You didn't ask, Trite. You have only yourself to blame for such sloppy work.
what?
A mirror was delivered to Tribulations the day before the incident.
Really?
As Mr. Armstrong testified, he was carrying out some design changes. And as it turned out, he didn't actually use the mirror in the end.
This just doesn't add up. Even if a mirror was delivered to Tribulations, it doesn't prove that it was in the restaurant on the day of the crime.
Ha! If you want to doubt someone, try it. Look in the mirror. I'm sure the person looking back at you will be dubious enough. So the witness yesterday had seen the victim reflected in a mirror.
Perhaps that was the old man was looking at. No. Normally I'd expect people to know the difference between a reflection and a real object.
Normally? How does normality come into this? That's lame, Trite, even for you.
Huh?
Are you trying to say that if something isn't normal, it isn't possible? Is that it? Where does that leave the porky-headed lawyer and the top-knot chick over there? And the ungodly cool guy with the mask over here? Well, Trite.
He'll kind of full of himself.
Not the hair.
I do not have a top knot.
Mr. Gatto is correct. Lack of normality is no basis for discounting an argument.
Bien, logic is one le day. Everything? He would have seen everything in reverse. We? Hey Nick, we should take a second think about what old CD said in his testimony. How do you phrase it again? Boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his oh, so that doesn't even make sense. No question, you can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear without a doubt. Same hand to pick up the cup, his left hand. If he saw everything he described reflected in a mirror, then everything he said he saw on the right was actually, or on the left was actually on the right, huh? And that clears up all the problems with his testimony, I guess. Or does it?
Ha!
It's kind of hard to believe everything's the fault of a mirror, but do you think old CD saw everything through a reflection? If he did, it would explain all the contradictions in his testimony. No, it wouldn't. But that just makes the situation worse for Maggie. There's got to be something in that old man's testimony. We just got to dig deeper. Alright, so we're back. Let's see. What do we have? I think, like, the issue is that everything would have been reversed. So I just have to figure out, like, how to present that. I know it's gonna be the last statement. I broke the vase at my seat. No, that's not it. Died of potassium cyanide poisoning. Crime photo. Alright. Right, but if you were looking at it through a mirror, then the eyepiece would also be on the right. But how do I present that? Deadly powdery poison. That doesn't really matter. The victim got this from the doctor before going to Tribulations. The bag is empty. The day of the incident, there's a note saying meet with the tiger. No, that doesn't matter. A computer virus made by Glenn Alg, potentially worth millions of dollars. That's not going to come up yet. 10 minutes of your life every Monday at 1:30. Okay. $1 million bill for cranial surgery. Payment was due last year. Matches used. Oh, so is he overdue on that? I realize that doesn't matter right now, but I'm wondering if that's where that's going. Matches used for advertising, found laying in tender lender. So they've... I think how this is eventually going to get used is someone, one of the two people at tender lender is going to be like, oh, I've never been there. And we're going to say, yes, you have. Victim's ear medicine found covered in unidentified fingerprints in the kitchen. Doodle is in victim's... All of this is in the victim's handwriting. Oh, so how does the 500,000 factor in? Now I want to know why Mask the Mask is there. So he was willing to sell MC Bomber for 100,000 just to get out of debt. An article from December 5th says I was trounced and my client was found guilty. It was bad. Hold on. There has 2 customers. I don't have anything to contradict that. Members experimenting. New Art Deco. No. What if I press this? And let the conversation play out. But we leave it. He couldn't lie about such a huge object like that. It must have been there in the restaurant somewhere.
So the witness yesterday had seen the victim reflected in a mirror?
Perhaps that is what the old man was looking at. The cup, the earpiece, and the glasses. He would have seen everything in reverse, but he didn't. Right, I wish I had his... I wish they had given me, like, his testimony as... like, something to present. Just so I can go back and look at it. But it's been very, very long. Oh, it still wouldn't have made any sense, though. Because his left eardrum is ruptured. Oh my god, I was way overthinking that. The coffee cup, the earpiece, and the HMD. Let's think back over Mr. Kudo's testimony for a second, shall we? And the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs. No question, you can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear without a doubt. So to summarize, we were told both the HMD and the earpiece were on the victim's left side, which is correct. Now, if Mr. Kudo saw all that as a reflection in a mirror, it means both the HMD and the earpiece were actually on the victim's right side, which is not true. Exactement, you see, monsieur. Now that you think about it, it's not so hard, no? Unfortunately, that's where we run into a monumental contradiction with the facts. If Mr. Kudo really did see everything in a mirror, why is it that the HMD is now on the wrong side of his head? Nailed it!
Order! Mr. Wright is correct. If the witness genuinely observed the victim reflecting in a mirror, then we would expect the victim's eyepiece to have been over his right eye.
Objection!
What? There's no objection here.
How bitter. Try it, you should have a taste of this bitterness. It'll calm you down in no time.
Are we talking about your coffee or something completely different?
You don't understand the way the witness thinks.
Huh?
How he thinks? You remember this, I presume.
I broke the vase, sorry, apology, Mr. Kudo's sworn testimony?
Exactly. The old man has one grievous habit, other than throwing seeds. The more of an impression something makes, the more muddled his mind makes it. And what's the most striking thing about Mr. Elg? Clearly it's the victim's eyepiece. And that's my point. The old man strikes again. Mr. Elg's HMD made a big impression on the old man. I saw the earpiece and those newfangled spectacles he was wearing. Oh yes, they were both on his left ear. Don't you hear? His left ear. Ha! Well, try.
That's the worst but best impression of Kudo ever. Wow, I really thought he was old seedy for a minute there. Godot's good.
Enough. I must agree that yesterday's witness was irresponsibly rash in much of his testimony.
Bad luck, Nick. Looks like the boil of the contradiction you found is just a rash.
Mirror can't be beaten by a handful of seeds, nor can it lie. So, what exactly was the old man looking at? Fill us in, Mr. Armstrong. Go on, tell the court. We're all ears.
Ooh, I can explain. Please, if you look at the plans of the restaurant.
Well, I can explain the mirror.
Hello, is everyone sitting comfortably? The mirror, it was in the middle of the restaurant, dividing the two halves. What? That makes no sense right on the face of it. There's only one seat from which you could have seen an image of the victim. That was the seat at the table next to the victim. That was where the old man was sitting. After the terrible incident occurred, I moved the mirror so it was not in the way. But naturally, I did not touch anything else.
Oh, that's a lie. I see no problems with the explanation we have just heard. From the table next to the victims, Mr. Kudo could have seen the victim in the mirror.
Oh, what a naughty little croquet. I'm confusing all the men like this.
Don't worry about it. We can keep up, except for the guy breaking out in a cold sweat over there again. I hate that guy. You said you didn't touch anything else apart from the mirror. Are you quite sure about that?
Volunteer, of course.
Very well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please.
Alright, we got this. We got this. This is complete nonsense. So run this by me again. The mirror was here, correct? We? Really? Because I know if I were you, I wouldn't have put a mirror there. It would be in the way.
Look who's talking, Trite.
Huh?
You're obstructing my view, among other things.
But, this is my seat in the courtroom.
Tribion's charm is that it gives you the impression that you're the only customer. Temporarily placing a mirror in a spot that would hardly be in the way. Unlike you. Try it.
I tell you, monsieur, the mirror was there in the middle of the restaurant. And where would that be? Ooh la la, look how you lean towards me. I always attract the younger boys. Maybe I should keep you in suspense a little longer.
Mr. Armstrong, tell the court what you know at once.
I attract the older ones too, you know. Handsome. Shall I tease you too?
I'm already seeing a very hot someone, so I'm afraid you'll be waiting for a long time.
I bet she has mocha cream skin and cappuccino perfume. Bien, I will tell you, there was only one seat from which you could have seen. Next to the victims, which is not where you were sitting. So why can you only see the victim from that particular seat? Mais monsieur, it is obvious, no? If you look at the plans, you'll understand. The victim would have been reflected in the mirror, like so. If you were sitting against the table next to him, you would see everything, no? So that's the old seat he was sitting in on that day. When the poisoning happened, the old man was sitting at the table next to the victim? Why does that seem kind of odd?
Because it's wrong!
Did you move the mirror while Mr. Kudo was off killing the police? Oui, exactement. I carried it out of the restaurant then. You moved a huge mirror like that all by yourself. What can I say? I know how to pick things up. Handsome. Godot actually laughed at something.
Well, given the witness's physique, I suppose it's possible. Did you move anything else from the crime scene, Mr. Armstrong?
It looked like the
obliging type. No, oh my god, what is wrong with me? Did not touch anything else. Are you sure about that? Yeah, I touched nothing except the mirror.
Mr. Wright, is there something the witnesses said that doesn't match the crime scene?
Yeah, there is. I just can't put my finger on what exactly.
Ha! Suffering from a case of heartburn, Wright.
Oh, I have this thing for that. An oil with a golden mirror and frankincense.
Add a few drops of your coffee and voila. Enjoy.
Focus, Phoenix, breathe. I need to ignore those two and just find some evidence. It's pretty strange though, isn't it? I mean, nobody mentioned anything about a really large mirror. You'd think someone would have, but Maggie didn't, and neither did old Ceedy. The only logical explanation is that there was no mirror inside Tribune that day. Now I've just gotta prove it somehow. Alright, hold on. Let's go to our court record. I don't want to present anything, so we have... When the incident occurred, I broke the vase at my seat. I'm so...
Ah! Aha!
Wait, do we have...
Aha!
I don't know what to present, but I got it. Oh, I got him. Okay. So what do I... Alright, so I need to... Not this. Okay, after a terrible incident, move the mirror so it's not in the way. Naturally, I did not touch anything else. Lies! I can prove it. With... Oh, what do I present first? Can I want to present them together. Because he says he broke a vase. But the vase is not broken here. So, either he wasn't at that table, which is what I think happened, or Armstrong lied, which I think also happened. Actually, I wonder if either one would work.
Objection!
Ha! This piece of evidence contradicts the testimony we have heard, Your Honor.
The crime scene photo?
Yes, this photo clearly shows something that theoretically should not exist.
What on earth do you mean by that, Mr. Wright?
Should not exist. Ha! Sounds like you're describing yourself, trite.
Now then, if the defense would please clarify its statement. What is this something that should not exist that,
Okay, whatever.
Take that!
I think it's pretty obvious that this is what should not be in the picture.
The vase? What possible connection does that have with the witness's testimony?
Your Honor, I'm telling you that there should have been no vase on this table. Because it very, very clearly contradicts with this piece of evidence. And there we go. There's one thing that was clearly demonstrated by yesterday's testimony. Mr. Kudo broke the vase that was on the table where he was sitting. And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at the table next to the victim at all.
Objection! Don't be an idiot, Try. That's impossible. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from.
Exactly. Oh, got him. There's only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Tribune that day. Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie.
Oh, mon Dieu!
God. Oh, you can't object your way out of this one.
Don't try to confuse the court, Try. Obviously, the witness cleaned up the vase.
Nope, they said they touched nothing.
While the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene.
Unfortunately, Mr. Godot, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary. In his own words, I did not touch anything else except the mirror.
Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
I was right. There was no mirror in the restaurant that day.
In light of this revelation, we return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear in which he couldn't hear? Ha! You only get one shot in life. There's no turning back. If you want to claim that the mirror wasn't there, try it. this problem is all yours. How do you explain what the old man saw? If I can answer this, then I'll bet I'll be that much closer to the truth. I can feel it.
Are you going to be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick?
There's more than just one contradiction, Maya.
What do you mean? Remember what Maggie told us? There was another man at the victim's table. And there's a sample CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr. Kudo's testimony. And I think I know the reason why nothing in this case is adding up.
Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer.
Yes, Your Honor. The reason behind all the contradictions in Mr. Kudo's testimony is simple. Kudo made a mistake. No. The ear doctor made a mistake. No. The victim was a phony. That's got to be it. This case is riddled with contradictions, yet there's one very simple answer that clears them all up.
And what is that?
The incident Mr. Kudo witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were two completely different events.
What?
That explains it. Okay, that everything makes sense when you think about it that way. Yes, the victim that Mr. Kudo saw wasn't Mr. Glenn Elg at all. It was an imposter, a phony pretending to be Mr. Elg. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake. Plus, from that seat, there's no way he would have been able to see the waitress. Kudo wouldn't have been able to see the waitress from behind.
Order in the courtroom. Settle down or I'll clear the courtroom.
Alright, I think this is where we'll call it an episode. We'll pick this up in the next one. Now, things are getting good. We're heating up here. Getting a little more info. I think we had suspected that the victim wasn't Elg. But I think this is the first time it's come up that, yes, Elg is dead. But the person who was originally poisoned, I don't think was actually poisoned. That's where I think they're going with this. That's interesting. All right. Obviously, I'm having a great time. I hope you are as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.